Welcome to Walking the Path. And I'm glad to be walking the path with you. Happy Thursday. Happy equinox. Today is the equinox. It happens twice a year that the day and the night are exactly even. It's a moment of balance. And it's asking us to see where we're out of balance in our lives. Where can we bring more balance and harmony where can I bring more balance and harmony into my life, into my relationships? And my primary relationship is with myself. Where can I bring more balance and harmony? So the equinox is a beautiful time, and it's in the midst of some really powerful other stuff going on. I'm not an astrologer, but I know there's was an equinox last week. I think there's another equinox next week, and stuff's in retrograde or Gatorade. I don't know. Mercury's in Gatorade, I hear. I don't know. But anyway, there's some powerful stuff going on. But one of the things we learn at Rythmia is it doesn't matter about the external stuff that's going on. I mean, that's important. We can amplify and magnify the energy of the seasons, of the celestial bodies. These bodies, to me, are a representation of divine order. But we are the power. We have the power to create our own lives, independent of circumstance and condition. So these things are happening, and I can either work with them to amplify what I want, or I can maybe not bring my awareness to them and not capitalize on a little extra wind at our back during these times. What I was saying is that at Rythmia, this amazing place where we learn, each of us come to learn something here. And what we learn is that when we're whole, when we come back together to a place of wholeness within us, there's nothing that can stop us. We are the most powerful beings on the planet if we are aligned, if we are connected to ourselves, which is God. So that's happening every week at Rythmia. If you're looking for deeper connection with yourself, deeper connection with spirit, deeper connection to your mission, to your purpose in life, check us out. And this kind of falls right into our talk today. It's our third talk in a series on courageous living. And today's talk is courage in action, stepping into your calling, even when it feels uncomfortable. And that's a lot of things that happen at Rythmia. People come here looking for their purpose and they find it. But, what do we do once we find it? We have to have courage to move forward. So I want to talk to you about that today. Last week, to recap, we were talking about breaking free from fear and judgment. And we explored how fear and judgment keep us small and how stepping beyond them is essential for living unapologetically. And I'm really loving using historic examples. So last week, we talked about Bayard Rustin, who is one of the unknown architects of the civil rights movement. We talked about Zora Neale Hurston, a Harlem Renaissance author, and Frida Kahlo, all who stood in their truth despite what the world said. And today, kind of following up on that, if you feel a calling, and many of us do feel a calling and a purpose for something bigger, that we're meant for something bigger. Do you feel that? Do you feel a calling that you're meant for something bigger? Let me check out the chat here. And, but here's the thing. Stepping into something bigger isn't meant to be comfortable. And I find that's a big part. Like, I want to be comfortable, but it's like, dude, if you're stepping into something bigger, it's not going to feel comfortable. You're stepping into the unknown. So how do I do it? It's not to be without fear. It's not to be fearless. I don't believe. I believe that it's being with the fear and moving forward anyways. So today we're going to look at how certain people in history, both known and unknown, have taken bold steps towards their purpose, even when it scares them. And hopefully, to me, this was inspirational. So I want to share this with you. But before we talk about examples, I want to explore why we resist the calling, why the calling is uncomfortable. There's a couple of reasons, common reasons that people resist the calling. And I've felt them. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if you felt them. Fear of failure, right? What if it doesn't work? Fear of success. What do I actually do if this works and everything changes, right? Or fear of judgment. some iteration of like what people will think or looking bad. And then I think one that everybody can identify with is imposter syndrome, right? Fear of like, who am I to do this, right? Like, that's really big. Who am I? But the truth is that our calling isn't meant to be comfortable. It's meant to stretch us. And everything that we desire is on the other side of that calling. And it's like, if I don't try, man, yeah, I could look like a fool. I could make a mistake. I could be an imposter. Maybe I'm not the right person to do it. But if I don't try, I'll never know. And I don't want to be at the end of this beautiful life going, oh, I really should have tried that. I really should have tried more. What if I would have tried that? I want to try. And if I fail, if I look like a fool, if I didn't have what it took, I tried. And here's what I know, that none of those things are really going to happen. That there's courage, there's inspiration in people moving forward. And all of the most successful people in history have failed more than they succeeded. So failure isn't really the issue. There's no failure. There's just feedback. So let's look at some inspiring moments from history that kind of illustrate this. I was thinking about this and I thought, Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah was fired from her job as a TV anchor. She was fired because she was too emotional. But instead of like trying to fit in to what the news anchors wanted, she leaned in to what she was and created an empire, a global platform that has changed the media industry, right? So instead of quitting, she stayed with her authenticity, even though she was told who she wasn't right. That is courageous living. And the lesson here is that rejection is just redirection. Rejection is redirection. It's redirecting us towards something greater. What feels like failure often is a doorway to our real purpose. Now, okay, Oprah's a great example, but I was interested in people that we might not have heard of. And I came across a lady, Clara Luper, who was a school teacher in Oklahoma City. And in 1958, she was the one that actually started the sit-in movement. The first sit-in was in Oklahoma City, 1958. She and 13 of her students went to a drugstore, a whites-only drugstore, and politely asked for service. And they were ignored for hours, but she refused to leave. And this was one of the first sit-in protests in America, way before the Greensboro sit-in. And because of her persistence, the drugstore chain, which was called the Katz drugstore, integrated all 38 of their locations. And it was her protest who inspired the movement. So we don't have to be famous to create change. We just have to take those small acts of courage. Small acts of courage can inspire massive movements. Because if you feel called, it means it's already in you. If you feel called, it's not about becoming worthy. It's about allowing yourself to step into what's already yours. So I want to ask myself a question, and I want to ask you this question. Where are we holding back? Where are we holding back in our lives? It's a great meditation, a great thought. Where are we holding back? And if I'm holding back, how can I take the first step? So taking the first steps, even when it's hard, it's bold, but we have to say yes before we feel ready, right? Nobody actually feels ready. Most people wait until they feel ready, but that day never comes. Action builds confidence. Little actions, inch forward, small actions. It's not the other way around. It's not like confidence builds. No, it's little actions build confidence. We have to take small actions towards our big dream. And so a famous example is Steven Spielberg. He was Spielberg, right? Like the name in film, huge, a giant in the industry. He was rejected from USC multiple times. He couldn't get into film school. And instead of giving up, he kept making movies and found another way into the industry and landed his first major directing job. And now he's one of the most famous film directors in history. So if one door closes, build another, right? Like if this is our calling, if there's something in us that we want to do, a door closes, we don't look for an open window. I'm going to build another fucking door. I love that. I love that. So part of it is learning to get comfortable with discomfort. And now I know we've all dealt with discomfort in many ways in our lives. We're experts at dealing with discomfort in so many areas of our lives. So we can definitely do it in the area that's the most important to us, because the greatest people in history didn't wait for comfort. They moved through the discomfort. And I want to talk to you about another person who you might not have heard of. That's amazing. Nicholas Winton. And he was a quiet hero who saved 669 children. In 1938, he was in Prague, and he saw Jewish families fleeing the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia. And he saw how many children were at risk, and he didn't wait. He started organizing secret transports for children to escape. And he personally saved 669 lives. And later, he never told anybody. It wasn't until 50 years later, after he died, that his wife found his old notes. And so, courageous living can change lives. And it doesn't mean that we have to wait. It can change lives in ways we don't even realize. So one of the biggest things, both with Winton and with Spielberg, is to not worry about the outcome, right? To let go of the outcome and just focus on the next step. You don't need to know how. Let the how be the wow. Just take the next step. Inch forward. Little teeny steps build our ability, right? Build our courage. Little steps help us to become more courageous. There's a great story of this woman, Wangari Maathai. She was in Kenya, and she noticed and this really hit me, because here in Costa Rica, there's so much deforestation going on with people building homes and housing developments. They're just clear cutting. I can't believe it. They're clear cutting so much of the jungle here, and it's so heartbreaking. And so I was inspired by this story, because this woman in Kenya, Wangari, saw the huge deforestation, and she just decided to start planting trees herself. Like, I'm going to plant some trees. I'm going to do something. And then she started organizing other women, and she got thousands of women to start planting trees across Kenya. And she built this green belt movement and planted 50 million trees. I mean, changes start small. One tree, one action, one step at a time. Faith is taking that first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase, right? It's like when you're on a dark road in the middle of the night and there's no moon, it's pitch dark, and your headlights can only see so far ahead. You're not stopping the car because you can't see far ahead. You keep going because you know there's more road, even though you can't see it. That's what this is. One small step, just from what you can see in front of you. Follow that step, and amazing, amazing, amazing things happen. What's one small step that you can take? One small step, just inch forward in your life. And this really comes to taking daily action, right? The power of daily action. It's not just for big movements, it's the small choices we make every day. So saying yes to your soul's calling in small ways each day creates momentum. So what are some small actions you can take? Like speaking up in a meeting, setting a boundary that honors you, sharing your work with the world, just expressing it, saying no to something that you feel like draws your energy away, or trying something new, even though you're not perfect at it. These are all examples of taking small steps. So share a time, if you want, in the chat. Share a time. I'm seeing people are, okay, Ben. Hey, Ben. Ben says, let me see this. I'm scared every day. You and others have taught me that courage only comes from fear, which has allowed me to embrace fear as a strength. And there's love on the other side of this fear. Oh, it's beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. So courage isn't about just one big moment. It's about a bunch of little ones, just like Ben, every day taking a step forward. So I think one of the things that really helps me is a mantra or a statement that helps me to remember So I want to give you one that has helped me. I'm ready now. I'm ready now. I don't need permission. I choose courage. I'm ready now. I don't need permission. I choose courage. And then maybe for the next week, between now and the next walking the path, take this challenge on to take one action, one step each day, one small action daily that stretches you a little bit. Journal about it, reflect on it. What changed? How do you feel? And in fact, imagine yourself now. Imagine yourself right now in the future. Right now, imagine yourself in the future. And you fully stepped into your calling, right? What's different in your life? How do you feel seeing that calling already done if you were doing that thing? And then come back to today and see what one little step you can take to get there. Don't try and figure out the whole Magnus Opum. Figure out one small step today that you can take. Your calling should always feel bigger than you, but that doesn't mean you can't take a step. And it's yours for a reason, because you're the only one that can do it. There's nobody else on the planet like you, and there never will be. So take that action. Walking your truth daily, right? So it's to step into this discomfort with just one small step. And the more you do it, step by step, inching forward, little by little, you'll build confidence, you'll build momentum. And small changes, small actions make big, big impacts in the world. So, okay, I feel like that's our talk for today. Next week, we're going to do walking the path daily, like how to integrate this truth into your daily lives. So that'll be our talk next week. Have a beautiful equinox. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a beautiful day. Blessings. And never forget that love is eternal. And so it is.